Here's a place where all of us can be safe. Our stories of transformation can be safe, and all the things we want to research are safe here. This is Safe Space with Cheyenne. I'm really excited you're here, and I hope you stick around for a while, because I've got a lot to show you before I leave Earth. I love you guys.
Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the Safe Space. Today I have Kim Barber here. She is the author and intuitive healer from Now I Am. I wish that I would have pulled the cover up because I really do love whoever did your cover art. That is amazing. There it is.
This is my friend Simona Manenti did the cover. She's awesome.
Yes. Beautiful. Thank you so much for bringing it up. I just got to dive into the beginner details of this book. I am so excited that someone who understands unity consciousness is coming on to not only talking about her channel, but her spiritual awakening. On this channel, I know I love to bring on people that have had transformational experiences, whatever they label them as. So today she's not only coming to talk about her book, her spiritual experience, but also a lot of the new work that she's bringing in this year. So Kim, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. It's so good to be here.
Oh, I love it. I have all my notes written down. I'm like, where do we even begin? So I'm really good at jumping ahead, but I'm definitely going to try to back up now. And I just want you to really introduce yourself and your work of what you're currently doing. Don't give too much away because we'll get into the book. And then I really like it when we backstep before, like who you are now and how you actually came into doing the work you do today.
Okay, so my name's Kim Barber, as Cheyenne said, introduced me, and so great to be here. Yeah, well, let's just get right to it. In 2012, I was living my life, just recently divorced of a marriage of 22 years, and we're friends today, of course, unity consciousness, and I have one son who's 25 now. And I was just in my parents' house. We had, moved from our house where we were together living as a family. And my son and I moved into my parents' house. And things started happening in both my son and my life. We started seeing now we were brand new to all this, remember, right? So we started seeing orbs through cameras, and we started seeing, I started seeing everything slow down into slow motion. Like, I would walk out the front door, there'd be cardinals in every tree. Just like bizarro things. And I'm like, what is going on? And I'm really grateful that my son, even though he's like 12 years old at the time, or 13, it was happening for him too. So I wasn't the crazy one, because I would look at him and say, do you see this? And he'd say, yeah, I see this. Although we were having separate experiences, a lot of commonality there because we were going through it together. So I was living at my mom's, and I like to preface this to say that, God, the I am that I am, God, the universe, the divine, whatever you want to call it, that made you and everything else. I call it the I am present. I fluctuate, but today I'll call it the I am present since my book is named Now I Am. It always is in command. Love is always in command. And so when you're dead asleep, I can only speak from my own experience. I was dead asleep, and I would always be drawn to shows about Jesus or Yeshua or paranormal or things like that. And I was just always gravitated that kind of stuff my whole life, actually. And I had a couple instances when I was still married. My father's sister passed away. Went to the funeral, my aunt, and I was very close to her. She was a very powerful woman, matriarch of the family. They called her Sidewalk Sally Superintendent, because she gave orders all the time. And so, she went to her funeral, and I'll start there. That night I went to bed, and my husband was laying next to me snoring, and I got punched in the arm, and I knew right away it was my aunt. Not really punched to hurt me, but just to wake, to give me a hello, I'm here kind of thing. And I woke my husband. I said, what was that? And he said, what was what? I don't feel anything. Go back to sleep. What are you talking about? You're crazy. I said, somebody just punched me in the arm. And it was the opposite side from my husband. So I knew it wasn't him, but I didn't know what else to say. I looked under the bed. I turned the lights on. I said, well, we're sleeping with all the lights on in the bathroom, just FYI. And then the next day, or maybe a week later, I can't recall really, I was blow drying my hair, and I put my blow dryer down, and my name is Kim. So I heard Kim, like a whisper scream, kind of like Kim, like 3 times in a row. And I turned around, and my son was at school, my husband was at work, and I'm like, what the heck is that? Who's calling me? So, so things like that started happening before my grand awakening, if you want to call it that. So we got separated Christmas of December 2010. 2010 or 2011, I can't remember. But anyway, it was December 21st, 2012, which was the end supposedly of the Mayan calendar, which was the end of you know what I mean, the start of the new earth, whatever, all that stuff was happening. And so that very night, my son was taking pictures with the camera of orbs. He's like, Mom, look at this. This is so cool. These bubbles floating in the air. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's cool, Holden. And I was in bed and he was in front of me. And all of a sudden he screamed and he got scratched, right? 3 scratch marks all up his arm. And I said, okay, that's it. We're in territory where we don't understand. And let's just put the camera away, Mommy says, put the camera away. And that's the end of that, So that night, early on when I fell asleep, I saw 2 old men in top hats, like in the 1920s, with very grouchy, almost like Scrooge would be in the movie Scrooge, in black suits with long, coats. And they just they were not very pleasant, and they flashed in my face. So kind of knew it was those 2 that scratched my son, and so back then I didn't know how to protect my energy. I didn't know any of that stuff. I didn't know everything was God and everything is love, and nothing can, of course, since that's the case, why would love harm love? It doesn't. Everything's your friend. But I was evolving and expanding at that time and just starting my awakening process, right? So I was clueless. So I went to bed and I woke up in the morning on my back. I opened my eyes. I couldn't move. Not at all. I couldn't speak. I couldn't move, but I was awake and my eyes were open. I thought, what the heck is going on? And I tried to get out of bed. I couldn't move. And I instinctually prayed to God. I said, God, help me. And then I got out of bed. I sat on the edge of the bed. Then I couldn't get up. And I prayed again. Then I could get up. Then I held the door handle to try to get out the door. And the door handle wouldn't move. And I prayed again. I got out in the hallway to God. And then I was in the hallway and I tried to move forward and I couldn't move forward. And then I got pushed on my behind. Then I got up and then I got mad. And then I said, oh, I prayed more and I got down the hallway. And I looked down at my mother, who's, elderly woman sitting on the sofa. It's like 10 o'clock in the morning or whatever it was. And my son was somewhere in the house too. And she was all groggy. I go, what's with you? And she goes, what are you doing? In this really weird voice. And I was like, okay, that's it. I screamed my son's name. I'm like, Holden, get up here now. And he came running up and I go, let's call somebody. Like I seen these paranormal people, down in Philadelphia that I'm in that area. And I called and they, and at first I couldn't call, by the way. My phone was scrambling. I couldn't get a picture, numbers, nothing. It was scrambling. So I prayed again, and then my phone got clear. And somebody had told me, I knew enough to know that I could call on Archangel Michael, right? I started calling on Archangel Michael, and then I could call. And then the people got on the phone, and they said, well, we can come up right now. It'll take us 40 minutes from Philadelphia because I'm in a suburb. And I said, well, that's all well and good, but I'm at my mother and father's house and they're going to think I'm absolutely crazy. So I don't want you to come, but can you tell me what to do? And they said, well, if you don't know what you're doing, I would leave there. Just leave there immediately. And you can call on Archangel Michael. And they said that too. So I left with my son to my other aunt's house. And I kind of tried to explain. She thought I was nuts, but I was going through a divorce. So she was like, she's probably crazy. And, she let me in the house with my cousin and they put me in my cousin's room, my first cousin's room. And she has a little boy in elementary school at the time. And all around the walls was the artwork of his, and his name is Michael. And it was all around the room, Michael, Michael, Michael. I mean, above the headboard, all over his pictures with his big name. And I just knew Archangel Michael was with me. So that's how I had my awakening. And then what I started to do is like, I need to get a handle on this. I don't know what's going on. I need to understand what's going on. I didn't realize at the time it was a blessing that I was doing the whole thing, I was orchestrating the whole thing for my awakening, right? Because I had a soul purpose, and that I was really safe, and that my I am presence, God was overseeing all of it, and which I am one with. And so I didn't know that at the time. And it's a process, right, of evolution. So come forward 13 years, I know it, fully know it, who I am. I'm God, I'm the universe, everything dwells within me, and I'm awakened state. But that was my awakening, and I did it all. I planned it all, because it really got me hot on the trail of what the heck was going on, and it was meant to, and it did a great job, really did a great job, because I found a spiritual store, a friend of mine who's a friend today, actually where I had my book launch, and she owns a spiritual store with books and sound bowls and crystals. And I walked in there, and there were several older women, older than me. And I said, listen, ladies, I'm having some experiences. I just cut right to the chase. I went to the register, and she said, well, my name is Honey, and I'm the owner of this shop. And you came to the right place. We know exactly what's going on, and come with us, kind of thing. And they were intuitives and clear channels, and they really set me straight. And then I had a friend who was a starseed I used to walk in the morning with, and she said, you need to come to this house with me. There's a woman channeling Archangel Raphael. She's a pure, clear channel, and she's been doing this work from the time of the harmonic convergence in 1987. So I was like, okay, whatever that is, I'll come. So it was as clear, she channels Raphael as clear as I'm talking to you right now. And the angel, I was about a group of 15 in a house. I brought my son. And the angel said, she did her toning and brought the angel in. And she does this beautiful angelic toning. And she said, and the angel said, what is it? What is it? And I raised my hand. I said, Archangel Raphael, what the heck is going on? And Archangel Raphael said, exactly what you think is. You're having an awakening. And what we want you to do is eat, sleep, and breathe Archangel Michael, because right now you're like a babe in the woods. You've just woken up and you're a bear. And so we cannot teach you, you cannot go through your dissertation until you learn your ABCs, so he is going to be your protector until you can master your energy. So he came into my life, Archangel. I eat, slept, and breathed Archangel Michael. I read about it. I wore blue. I did everything to bathe myself in his energy, and he was right by my side. I could feel him breathing. And he appeared to me. And then after Archangel Michael, Yeshua came in, Jesus came in and was my mentor, because I'm a spontaneous direct healer as well. And so he came in and mentored me. And then I had several other mentors. And now I'm with Saint Germain and many others with this I Am Discourse work that I'm doing. And, we'll talk about that when you want to talk about it. But they wanted me to write. I started during COVID writing my book, Now I Am, because I'm the full embodiment of my I Am presence now. And Kelly, the one who channels Raphael, her name is Kelly Kolodny, Kolodny. You can find her online. She's worldwide now. She no longer does private sessions, because it's all about tuning into your own guidance, right? Not seeking. Even Raphael is an external source, but she has, she has a big following online, and you can join in with her and activating your light body and just remembering all kinds of things for your ascension. She's a good friend. She lives about 15 minutes down the road. And actually in January, they came in and said, the divine, my I Am presence said, you need to leave that class. And I call it a class, but it's not really a class. It's, it's light work, or whatever you want to call it, for the planet, for yourself, for the collective, and I was like, oh, wow. And, it was a big thing, because I've been doing this work since 2012 with her. Since that first channeling where I met Raphael through her, in the way that I did. Of course, the angels and everything dwells within me, and I access that angel in a different way. But through Kelly, I've been going to her in some capacity since 2012, 2013. And so is my son and many, many others, thousands, So that was a big deal. And they said, now you've written, and we still want you to write, but now we want you to speak. And I'm like, but I'm a writer. And they're like, you're a speaker too. Get out of there. And at first, in all honesty, I was like, are you kidding me? Because I'm like, I have to speak in front of people, I was all, and they're like, get out there, and I'm like, all right, I say yes to life. I'm going for it. And I just jumped in with everything I had, and I'm learning, I'm being honest, I did my master's degree on a Brother typewriter. We didn't have computers. We had two in Penn State. They were like in the library, and you had to sign up to use something called the internet. So like my son is helping me. Lives in Nashville, and he's my techie. He's a whiz, probably like you, Cheyenne, on computers. So I had to learn all this stuff, and I'm blessed to have an assistant to help me. But so right now, what I'm doing is I've left the group, Archangel Raphael in that way, but I have my own team. And I'm also a clear pure channel for the divine. I'm always divinely channeling, and I will be channeling multiple beings of light very shortly, and been going through integration processes and downloads and things like that to shift and change things within me. The divine is, the I am is, to get me ready for that. And I'm doing it now, actually. But yeah, so it's very exciting. And whenever you want to talk about making the call, we can do that as well, because that's really my message now. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yes, we're going to get into that. But you had so many details that I feel like we should pull them apart. Like,
go ahead.
Because it really is relatable to anybody on an awakening journey. But I think the mainstream marketing of what's been going on about consciousness and all, like, it still is painted very love and light, and oh, this is so good for you, all this stuff happens and everything's going to be okay. It's like, we should kind of talk about how crazy you do feel when you're going through any awakening process like that. There are so many people that have been misdiagnosed because Western medicine completely disregards the energetic body system.
Yeah.
And I think that is a detriment, in my opinion, because again, there's people that need more help. But I love that through the whole process, you're like acknowledging it, and you're like, yeah, like, of course I feel like I'm going crazy, because this whole other vision.
There are so many things. I mean, I would just to be dead honest with you, authentic, I would get up in the middle of the night when all this stuff was beginning and so this is what happens for me personally. It happened, and I see it in other friends' journeys. So you can tell me if it happened with you, but in the very beginning, when I woke up, they really piled on the transcendental experiences to really keep me on the trail of questioning, right? Because they wanted me on my path. I wanted myself on my path. I'm God. I'm the universe. We all are. We all are each that. The I am that I am. So I orchestrated all this to keep me on my path. So I would just fun examples. I would get up to use the restroom in the middle of the night, and I'd come back, and there'd be a fluorite crystal on my sheets where the middle of my back would lay. And I'm like, oh, seriously, who put that there? And then I put it back on my nightstand, and I get up to go to the restroom again, like 4 a.m. And I turn around, and there it is back in the bed again, or I'd walk in from the day being out with groceries, and there's crystals all over my floor, and my floor's lighting up. I had angels descend in my room, crystals, sparkling white light and golden light that my son witnessed. He jumped on my bed and put his hand. He goes, Mom, they're so cold. I'm like, don't do that. I don't know. You're supposed to. This was like early on, And he actually, that night was pretty funny. I was laying in bed, and these sparkles of light descended into my space. And later a friend told me it was Jesus and Archangel Ariel. But anyway, so it doesn't matter. But one was gold sparkles, one was white light. And they were like as tall as my ceiling in my apartment that I had moved into after my divorce. And my son simultaneously came in from his room. It was a 2-bedroom apartment. He said, Mom, the word God is written on my ceiling. And I got up on the bed and tried to reach it, and I couldn't reach it. I'm like, well, we have company. And he saw them. He could see them. And he jumped up on my bed, and he instinctually put his hand. He goes, it's so cold, Mom. And I said, oh, don't do that, Holden. But we were just, we just had so many things like that. One night we woke up, and pots and pans were banging in my kitchen. Now, this was a small apartment, and we were steps away from the kitchen. He ran into my room, and he's like, and I had, it's really beautiful, actually. My dad's sister who passed away, I told you the example before with the punch in the arm where I thought it was her and no, it was her, telling me she was okay and blah, blah, blah. Well, her husband, she passed, and then her transition. Then her husband was about to transition, and I would go down and visit him. He lived in Philadelphia in a little row home. He was on oxygen, and I would bring him like little chicken pot pies that he loved. And so one night in the middle of the night, Holden and I heard this banging, like slamming and everything. And it was like 1:30 in the morning, and my son had school the next day. And I said, something happened to my Uncle George. Something happened to him. I know it. I knew it. I said, I can either call now or go in the morning. He was just about to pass away, So I said, maybe he passed away, but I'm not going to call him, because if I'm wrong, then I don't want to wake him up and startle him, right? So I said, I'll drive my son to school, and then we'll come back first. I'll go down there first thing in the morning. It was about a half an hour from me. So I went down there, and he opened the door, and I said, did you happen to fall or anything happened to you at 1 a.m? He said he couldn't talk, but he shook his head and he whispered, like talked. He said, I tried to go upstairs on his chairlift. He said, and I fell. And so his wife, my Aunt Sally, was the one banging the pots and pans, from the other side of the veil, getting me. I told you she was a very pronounced personality, right? She's like, my husband just fell and you got to get down there, kind of thing. And then at that stage, I didn't know what to do. I called my first cousin, whose room I was staying in, that said all Michael at one point. And she was a lawyer, and she goes, well, not that this had anything to do with it, but she's a smart woman. And she said to me, ask it to leave, the banging of the pots and pans, who's ever doing it. I said, oh, that's a good idea. She goes, yeah, you're the creator, supposedly. Ask them to leave. So I said, leave this house now. So I did, and it started knocking on the door. So I said, oh, and my son said, or I thought, I can't remember who said it, but Mom, you asked it to leave, but you didn't ask it to leave the whole apartment development. So I asked it to leave the whole complex. I intended that it did, and it left. But just how funny and specific, I asked it to leave, but out of the apartment, and then it went to the front door on the outside trying to get, but it was my aunt. But, and I told my uncle that, and he goes, I know it was her. Like he wasn't spiritual, but he knew, but we had some like things like that, but that was, all these, and then I went to the movies once. Archangel Michael took me to see The Croods, the animated movie, The Croods. Did you ever see that? Mm-hmm. Well, it's about this young girl who chases the light, and her parents live in a cave and they're afraid of everything. And she meets this young guy, and he's really with it and cool, and he's following his dreams and chasing the light, and he's very adventurous, and she hooks up with him, and it's the end of the world, and there's volcanoes going, and he says, if you can't see the other side, but if you jump, the sunshine is over there. If you trust me, you'll be safe. And everybody jumped except the father at the very last minute, and then he finally gave in and jumped, and then you see them landing, and they're safe, and it's sunshine. Well, right when the point of the movie, where I took my son to it too, where he says, just jump, have faith, do it. I get emotional because Archangel Michael walked in the movie theater, like literally. He stood there, he's about 15 feet tall, and he didn't look at me. He looked at the movie screen, and he said, trust me, and at the time I was scared shitless, to be honest.
Anybody would. It's not in the reality that we were ever taught, which is why.
No, but he appeared to me as I know, and they appear to you as you think them to be. And he had, he was strong and powerful, and he was pronounced, and he was clear. And he stood there, and I looked at the screen, and they jumped, and they reached the other side, and I turned back, and he was gone. He wanted me to look at that screen at that moment. That was the message. That's why he took me to the movies. But, it's really beautiful. And, yeah, the message is to trust. You're fine, surrender to the I am. And they told me first on, just surrender everything you're grappling with. You know what they told me, which is profound, and it stuck with me. During my research for my book and the research I'm doing now, they said, from the I Am Discourses, the masters came right in and said, do you know the only reason you suffer or have anything, what you would consider as a problem in your life, anything that you consider as a problem, which is really a blessing, actually giving you the opportunity in that moment to see that it's a blessing and to trust and to investigate and to question. You know why it comes into your life, that moment? It's to get you to, in that very moment, hand it over to the higher aspect of you, the I am that I am, God, the universe, the divine, whatever you feel comfortable with calling who created you and everything else. It's for you to hand it over and not figure it out yourself. You're the hander over, they told me. You're not the solver. Stop trying to relinquish control now. They told me that. We can't work through you and do everything for you on your behalf if you're trying to control everything. It's like, and then they told me, that's the only reason anything comes. If you can remember in that moment you have any kind of issue, any little thing, even if it's you don't know how to wash a dish, whatever it could be, can't go to the toilet, whatever, hand it over. I surrender this whole situation and all the energy connected to it now to my I am that I am presence, the highest divine aspect of who it is that I am, which I know is divine perfection. So be it and so it is. Thank you for that gift now and always, my I am. That's all you got to say, and insert in that sentence whatever you got going on. It works for everything, and I started doing that. And even Archangel Michael came in, he said, Kim, put a index card where you brush your teeth. Remember to surrender in the morning. And whenever it pops into your awareness to do so, and especially at night, we can't stress it enough because you've forgotten so long to surrender everything. We need to really get it ingrained. So you need to start surrendering even the littlest things that you think are minuscule. I had a good friend say to me once, a best friend, she said, oh, I can't call on Jesus or the I am because they're busy. I don't want to bother them with this little problem. And I said, oh, seriously? They're everywhere at once. They're omnipresent. They want you to call them for every little thing. You're not supposed to. And what a relief that is to find out you're not here to do anything by yourself. You're here to hand it over to the one who knows. Like they told me, Kim, you're like in the jungle, right? Or the forest. And I am the hawk in the sky. I see everything. And you're in the forest looking for your car, looking for the road, looking for the water source, looking for the food source. And you're stuck in the thick of it. You don't know the easiest path. I see everything. And if you surrender to me, I can navigate you. And guess what? The sun is setting. What are you going to do? It's time to surrender to me, everything and all, and watch the miracles unfold for you. So you don't have to tell me twice, because there was a time when I didn't listen and I got zapped. Like it was not pleasant, because once again, going back, the only reason any unpleasantry perceived, it's always a blessing. So it's a perceived. Yeah, you're feeling it. You're going through it. Let's not, let's be real. But it is really, from the highest perspective, a perceived problem. It's really a blessing, because the blessing is in that moment for you to be awake in the present moment and realize that, oh, this is an opportunity to hand that fight I just had with so-and-so and all the energy connected to it with my intent to my I am presence to solve it for me, not me, right? Not me. If you can remember in the moment when you're all emotional, whatever you have to do to surrender it, I surrender the driving of my vehicle before I get in it to my I am presence with all the energy connected to it, because we have divine freedom of will. And so you need to, surrendering is an asking, right? They won't interfere. We said before we incarnated, we're going to have this earth experience as infinite beings of infinite victorious love and light that live eternally. And we're going to have this experience on earth with the senses and all this good stuff, and don't interfere with us unless we ask. That's what we said. And they said, okay, you got it. So that 99, and this is just for example's sake, but the 99% of you, the hawk in the sky that stayed on the other side of the veil, when the 1% of you incarnated, it knows all. And it just is like, please give it to me. Please give everything to me. What are you doing? And I equate it to this. They gave me this example too. It's like they said to me, Kim, only two ways it can go. You either surrender to the I am, God, and let God do everything through you and for you on your behalf with divine perfection, or you let the ego run your world. You can't, there's no other option. So if you won't surrender it, the ego has to do it. And the ego, they told me, it's like having the baby, a toddler driving the car. What happens when a toddler drives the car? The ego, lots of accidents, right? Even death, like horrific things, right? And we've had that for thousands of years. It's time to wake up, put the baby in the car seat, let the ego do what it was meant to do. It has a job and it's a beautiful thing, but it was never meant to lead the way. It doesn't get in the river. It goes directly on the street, gets you where you want to go 100% of the time, because it can't do anything because it's divine perfection. So it's time to put the love, the heart, God, the I am, the divine, the universe, whatever you feel comfortable calling it, in the driver's seat. You do that through surrender. And it's very easy. I am the victory of surrendering, this situation, my whole day, my whole life reality experience, all the energy. I always say all the energy connected to it as well, because you want to give permission to God, or the I am that I am, to go into every tentacle avenue it needs to go to help you for your highest good, right? So I say, surrender this whole situation, all the energy connected to it, with my intention. Now, you always want to be specific right now. I give it all to my I am presence, surrender it all to my I am presence, which I know is divine perfection. It just is. So what we mean by divine perfection is it always serves your highest good and everybody else's highest good, all that is, ever was, and ever shall be, with divine perfection, because that's what love is, divine perfection. It can't help but be perfection. So, yeah. So they but they blessed me with these I Am Discourse books. And I read and read and read. And now they have taught me, and not taught me, but because we're infinite wisdom that dwells within us, but they help me remember how to make these calls, like surrender that I just said, but other powerful calls utilizing the laws of the universe, the cosmic laws of the universe, the master powers, they call them, of the universe, which is what the ascended masters use. It's almost like the I Am Discourses, that not almost like, they are a guidebook for the ascended masters' instruction on how to make your ascension. So they're sharing it with us. And they told me that in the ascended masters' octave of light, these books are encrusted in jewels, and they're just powerful. So, whoever has ears to hear and is ready for it, I encourage you to look into the I Am Discourses, and I'm doing my own thing with that, and we'll get into that. But making the call is so important, because they told me, and this is one thing, it relates to my book too, why all of us do anything. It is to bring perfection into this, the Ascended Master's octave of light of perfection, into this realm. So what we're doing is, when we make these calls, we're calling forth their perfection into this realm to dissolve and consume instantly any human discourse or any human unconscious thought forms that we've created unconsciously, not knowing that we're the powerful creators of our own reality that we are, because we can't shut it off. We're always the creator, 24/7, 365, forever. So whatever you're constantly generating, thought forms, and that's going into the atmosphere. So somebody has to purify that. And it's our duty. They said, it's your duty. It's your duty to make these calls to bring perfection. Because, in other words, they didn't say this, but this is my crude translation. You brought this into this, you need to get it out. It's your responsibility, which it is. We brought this anything that is less than the perfection of the I Am into this realm. We need to clean it up. It's time to get the vacuum cleaner out, and that's what you do with the master powers of the universe, the sacred fire, the violet flame, the cosmic Christ blue lightning, the cosmic light substance. They're all the sacred fire. And you can see behind me, there's a flame over my shoulder. That's the sacred fire. And that's what you use. That's the umbrella term for all of it. It's the love of God, literally, from the great central sun. It's called the sacred fire, love's immortal, indestructible purity from the great central sun that is always divine perfection, that is indestructible, and nothing can oppose. So when you start utilizing that, you watch what happens to your life. You can use that with everything. And I have an example, but whenever you're ready, I'll say the example they showed me about that.
Yes, I want to get into that right before. I want to highlight the chapters, not highlight the chapters, just read them off really quick, because surrendering is one of the best forms of advice that I have heard. But I've also been asked in the interviews that I've done that they're like, if these things are happening to someone, like, where do you think they should start? What do you think you should do? And I'm like, whatever you believe in, if you believe in something, I'm like, surrender to that power. And I was just reading a near-death experience version of a woman talking to God. And when she was doing the mini life review she did before she came back, he was standing beside her as she was watching her own life review. And she could feel all the good things and all the bad things she had done. But God was not judging her. He was standing there and supporting her. And she was judging herself, and she was shaming herself right in front of God. And he's like, I've already forgiven you. You haven't forgiven yourself. That's why you can't feel me. So there's a heavy level of a burden, just like your friend that was like, I don't want to bother them with that.
Well, here's the thing. In the highest perspective, the truth, there is no such thing as sin. There's no such thing as needing to be forgiven, because everything is love, and everything is whatever level of consciousness that you're on. And everything is, okay, so here's the thing. Picture God as a bubble. The I am that I am, the divine, the universe is a bubble. There's nothing outside that bubble. That whole bubble is love. And you are that bubble right now. You're the whole enchilada, right? So that means anything you can think dwells within you right now. It exists within you right now. So your perfection, everything that happens in your life, even if it's a shit show, it's perfect. Life is perfect the way it's showing up for your growth and wisdom and evolution in the becoming of who you truly are. So you orchestrated everything in your life. And when we wake up, we take full responsibility. Sometimes that's a hard pill for people to swallow. You mean I brought that into my life? I would have never done that. Well, yes, you did. You really did. You might not be conscious of it. Let's get clear on it. But you brought it in for your own benefit. Like we said before, everything is a blessing. Everything that shows up in your life shows up to give you the opportunity in that now moment to recognize it as a blessing. Even if you don't know how, you say, God, I know this is a blessing because everything is perfection in life. Everything is love. Everything always serves my highest good. There's nothing outside of the love bubble, and I am that bubble. And I know you're always serving my highest good. So I have full faith and trust and belief, whatever I'm going through. But you can surrender your situation in the meantime and have God start working on it for you on your behalf. You don't have to sit there. And here's the thing. It's like a cloud, a dark cloud that comes into your experience to teach you something, to help you remember something in your growth and evolution that you orchestrated, by the way. And so here comes the cloud. So what happens, people get stuck because they're like, this shouldn't be here. They don't have full acceptance of the cloud being there. So why I say it's so important, because life is perfect. It is God too. So if a cloud's coming, just picture that cloud that cloud is God for this now moment. If it's over you, it's God. It has a message, right? To help you grow and evolve and expand into the remembering that you are God. Everything's here to help you remember you're God and you're a powerful master creator. So if this trouble or cloud comes over you, you want to make it go by quickly. You say, I'm in full acceptance of this cloud that's raining down upon me right now. I send it love. I allow it, let's say it's an emotion, anger. Somebody makes you, I was in a restaurant yesterday, for example, and this waitress, I said, how are you? And I know her a little bit from going into this same restaurant. How are you? And she, oh, I'm doing great. And I could tell her energy was not. I go, no, you're not, And she goes, well, I want to talk to you about that because she's in a new relationship. So I have friends that, are saying this about my relationship. I said, first of all, why do you care? That's not your business to be cared about what they are saying about you. That's not our business. Our business is to put our 100% attention on the I am and not give a crap what anybody else says about us. That's not our business, right? When we start getting into that business, we've given our power away, right? Our main job is I give my full attention. I turn first and foremost for everything and all, surrender to my I am that I am. That's what is being asked of you now. Not to turn anywhere else, not to start evaluating it yourself, and to be in full acceptance. So if you get angry, her friends said something, take it in a safe way. And I stress safe way, maybe sitting in by yourself or take a walk or go in a car and take a drive or sit in the car so you're safe and get it all out because the universe knows already what's going on 100%. So spill the beans. That's what we call allowing that emotion, whatever's showing up in your life, to have its full life. Because isn't it true, when we're happy or joyful about something, we want everybody to know how happy we are. We want everybody to know, oh, I want my son's a country music artist. And when he gets a big #1 hit, I'm telling everybody, oh, I'm so proud of him. I'm a proud mama. He's doing great. He's got #1, blah, 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 blah. But when it's jealousy or it's betrayal or anger, we kind of don't let those emotions have our life. And that's when, they have to speak louder. And that's when they manifest in disease to get our attention, because they say to you, it's like a toddler. What happens to a baby? You have a baby and you ignore it. What do? They have a tantrum, right? To get your attention. They are relentless toddlers. A mother cannot ignore her toddler. I mean, it just can't happen. They'll scream, they'll cry, they'll pull on your pants, they'll do anything. And what do they want? Same thing as emotions. They want your love and to be accepted as part of the family, the God family. So that emotion of anger, that emotion of fear, betrayal, whatever it is, it too is in that bubble of love. There's nothing outside of love. So it too is love. Even though it's appearing as an emotion of fear or anger, it is also love. So it wants two things. It wants you to, wants you to allow it to have its life and to love it, which means expressing it safely. Get it all out. Don't hold it in. Men sometimes, or people sometimes hold it in, And she said to me yesterday with the situation with her friends, she says, well, my boyfriend told me just put barricades up and to ignore them. I go, that's not going to work because that toddler is going to bang even louder. Can you imagine a mother putting up barricades around her? And what's the toddler going to do? Scream louder. Mm-hmm. Like, you're not getting away from this toddler. And you're not going to get away from these emotions that are arising. They're arising as a gift. They're arising in that moment, going back to what I said in the very first part of the show. They're a blessing in that moment to be present, fully awake, knowing that they're a blessing, number one, and knowing that your job is to hand them over through surrender. That's the only reason these perceived problems show up, is to hand them over to the only ultimate. God said to me, I am the only ultimate solver of any perceived problem you could ever have. Why would you go, if you need a doctor, why would you go to Home Depot or go look in the supermarket or go wherever? Why don't you go to the healing center or go, that's kind of like what people are doing. They're doing everything. And there's I didn't know either. I was clueless too till I started reading and this wisdom came to me. I was like Babe in the woods. I didn't know anything for my whole, I didn't know anything. So having this wisdom now, they're like, tell everybody this, be in full acceptance of anything that shows up because it is life. Life equals God equals love. It's all the same thing. When you push God away, that feeling of anger or fear, you're pushing life away. You're pushing God away, and it doesn't work. When you go against life, you'll never win.
Well, I like that Wayne Dyer always said, ego is edging God out. So I think people are finally getting in the understanding of, I have been living like asleep in an ego in a left side of my brain. And it is like a big mass reprogramming in a positive sense, but you are shedding a lot of stuff.
But the ego is a beautiful thing. It has a job, and it's God too. See, we want to accept everything, but it wasn't meant to drive the car.
Yeah.
The toddler ego was not meant to drive the car. It's meant to be in the car seat with the straps on, and it can do what it's meant to do in that car seat, not control the car. No way, right?
So I think the car seat analogy is a really, really good one because a lot of people's egos are like that.
They're driving the car, and guess what? It's a shit show.
I think that's a part of the journey too, is just being able to accept and even talk about your shit show. That's what I like when people bring on here. They're like, check all this stuff out I didn't know I did while I was unconscious. My bad.
Yeah. No, actually, it's not bad. It's actually perfect because everything that shows up, I was meant to have that psychic attack. I was meant to, everything I went through, I was meant to make those decisions that didn't go in alignment with God because it brought me deeper and deeper into the knowingness of who I am, because each one made me question deeper. I had a party once. They told me, don't have an oracle card party. So many oracle card decks are going to be out. So much energy, and it's not, and you don't know how to protect yourself. At the time I needed to, I wasn't master of my own energy field back then as I am now, and I didn't understand. I'm like, I'm going to have this party. It's going to be fun. I'm going to invite everybody from the spiritual store. And we had like 30 people here with decks open wide. And I had so many entities stuck on me by the end of the party. I'm like, oh, that's why they told me that, it took me 3 days to finally call in everybody to clear myself, but that doesn't happen to me at all anymore because I know I'm God, and I know I use the sacred fire, which is very important to bring up at some point, which is a master power of the universe that they're telling me to tell people to use or offering. It's not my business if they use them. It's my business to offer it. Right? Everybody has their own choice. So yeah, so that's what I got for that.
Tons of information. I absolutely love it. Before we move on to the decks that we were going to talk about, just for the readers, there is a preview of Now I Am on Amazon if you want to check it out. She does a wonderful job intertwining beautiful poetry and paragraph formats as well. So some of the chapters that really stuck out to me that a lot of people talk about before an awakening, or even back in their childhood before the veil was kind of over their eyes. Chapter 2 is Visitors from Beyond the Veil. I think that is very common with people, especially looking back and getting those dormant memories back. We have Community, Angels, Surrendering, Energy, Healing. Asking is a really important one. I absolutely love that chapter Asking is page 111. That's just my number. Love, Awareness, Compassion, Transcendental Experiences, The Quest, Gratitude, Service, and the Divine Plan Fulfilled. There's also other references you can check out on our website, but I definitely wanted you guys to just hear those chapter breakdowns, because those are key words that I look for, especially when I do a lot of people's work, is if they don't break down how to really get in that surrendering mode. I'm like, how do I get there? Some people can just snap into it and they really understand it, but there are a lot of beginners out there that they're like, what do you mean surrender this? Because again,
That was me. I'm like, please bring, early on, I was like, please bring me teachers or masters that can teach me how to bring it in, tools that I can use day to day. Give me something concrete. I literally went to a supermarket one day and they're like, I parked behind this car with all these spiritual bumper stickers. I'm like, oh, what a cool car. And I went I went to the organic produce section, and there was this lady sitting there, and we got to talking about produce or whatever. And she goes, oh, there's a book you need to read. I'm like, oh, what book? And this was early on, like 2012. And she goes, oh, Neil Donald Walsh's Conversations with God. And I'm like, oh, I have a long list of books. I had it, and I kind of I didn't realize, at that time that the universe, when you hear things 3 times, especially, it's always, So then I went on my way, did some shopping, then I ran into her again. And she goes, no, you really need to read this book. I'm like, all right. And then I went to a friend who's a peer channel as well. And she goes, Kim, you need to read this book. I'm like, all right, that's it. 3 times. And I bought the book.
Yep, look for the 3.
Yeah, at the time, it answered every single question I had, at the time. And, it's amazing. And then I read it again a couple years later, and I was at a different level of consciousness. And it was like, I was baffled. I was like, this is like a whole new book, because I was reading it at a different level,
That happened to me as well.
Yeah.
That total, I'm trying to think of it's Cosmic Energies. I remember I got handed that book and I'm like, I know that I will understand this in a few years, so I'm going to bookmark this. And then, like you said, you're on a higher level of consciousness, higher frequency. And I was like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense to me now. I understand it. But I had the memory of reading it the first time, like baby shy.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Thing. We do have like a lot of similarities as far as like how the channel works and it comes through, especially the poetry. I just think that's such a beautiful add-in. But before we get wrapped up, I really want to get into the projects that you're working on now.
Okay. So yeah, thank you.
Because this is big in my opinion.
I wrote the book Now I Am, and then that came out last August and 2023, and so grateful for that. And then they were like, okay, you're writing 10 more books. And I'm like, 10 more books? And they said, yeah, we want you to bring the I Am discourses, the ones I was reading for 2 years straight till 2 and 3 in the morning and making notebooks. I have them right here, notebooks upon notebooks. And they said, we want you to bring them up to date to 2024. We want you to modernize them, because a lot of the vernacular, they're channeled from the 30s, 40s, 50s. Like Archangel Michael has a discourse, and Yeshua, Jesus has a discourse. The 7 mighty Elohim have a discourse. A being called Beloved Mighty Cosmic Victory, who's Saint Germain's twin brother, has a discourse. And they look like this. These are the I Am discourses. This is Archangel Michael's. And in every single discourse in the front, there's a picture of the I Am presence and you. Oh, get it in there. So yeah, it does everything for you. It beats your heart, breathes for you, it's everything. And then when you transition, see that white light? It just withdraws it, and the physical body falls, and you merge back with all that is. So it's a beautiful thing. And so I am So the year turned, the new year came, and a lot of changes happened for me. First, they said, get out and speak. And then they said, we want this material out quicker. So we want you to do an oracle deck. It'll have the same making the call invocations on the cards, but we want this out to the public like ASAP. You know, of course, I'm taking my time. By September, October, we're talking, they'll be done. So I brought the illustrator in. She's a Pure Clear channel for the divine, Simona Manenti. She's now writing them with me and doing the illustrations and things like that. And we're doing it together. I brought her in as a project together, which she's powerful and so helpful. And it's so much fun doing something with somebody else, you know, because I wrote Now I Am, it was like 3 or 4 years by myself. So not by myself, with God, of course, but somebody in the physical. It's always nice. Mm-hmm. And so these powerful books, as I was reading the discourses for the last 2 years, I had an opportunity to speak to Raphael one-on-one, just like I'm speaking with you through my friend Kelly Kolodny. I would have an opportunity to get a session because I was in the group of the Ascended Masters. And I said to Raphael, I keep reading all these books and it all comes down to one thing. And Raphael said, yes. And I said, it's all the sacred fire. And Raphael said, there you go. And all these discourses are just each being's version of the sacred fire. And the sacred fire, I like to call it the umbrella term. It is the violet consuming flame of Saint Germain. It is the blue lightning, cosmic Christ of Archangel Michael's sword of blue light, blue lightning. It is what we call the cosmic light substance. What it is, basically, simply, is the love of God itself. And it is indestructible, immortal, unlimited power, always victorious, just a side note before I get into that sacred fire, and you can bring me back to that if I forget, but I was in the bathroom one night, not going to lie, and a being came in and he said, I am beloved cosmic victory from Venus. And I need you to go in the other room and pick up that stack of books and pull one out. I'm like, okay. And I said, which one? I said, it doesn't matter, just pull. And there's these little leaflets, like supplementals to the I Am Discourses that recently got translated into book form. They're like little 5x7 pamphlets. They have like 60 pages each. And so I grabbed one, and of course it was the perfect one. I opened it, and it was Beloved Mighty Cosmic Victories supplement to the discourses. And he said, I am Saint Germain's twin brother. Saint Germain's violet flame is the flame of freedom. I want you to think of it as freedom because it frees you. It dissolves instantly all discord everywhere. And I want you to know who I am and recognize me and acknowledge me so I can bring victory to you. So what Beloved Mighty Cosmic Victory is, his energy is the energy of victory, just like Saint Germain is a violet flame of freedom. His energy he's the twin brother. They go hand in hand. And he's not as well known, but he is going to be well known now because he gives us the energy and victory. Now, this is the kicker. When I found this out, I was like, whoa, this was like a whoa moment. He said, my energy of victory, by its definition, is the energy of completion. Any intention you set forth with the word victory in it, by definition, it must complete itself. So if I say I intend, command, demand, as the I am that I am the victory of infinite abundance and infinite financial wealth. So be it and so it is. Thank you, God, for the I am that I am for that gift now. And I acknowledge Beloved Mighty Cosmic's victory and law of victory. You acknowledge the law of victory, then you use it in your intentions. And Raphael told me, say the word command, demand, intend. Command, demand, intend. Those 4 words. I command, demand, and intend. I am the victory of XYZ. Whatever you're intending, those 4 words, because you're the powerful creator. You're commanding it, you're demanding it, you're intending it, because energy follows intention, and you're saying you're the victory of it. So remember, by definition, victory as an energy must complete itself. It doesn't stop. So it's perpetuity. So it will come to you. We are the I am. We are always rating that. That's our core essence. We're always rating that perfection. And that perfection is always that river of abundance, opulence, perfect health. It's always one with us and flowing to us. The issue is when you have a belief system, it's like you're standing in a river and the river's flowing to you all the time. It can't help but not, because you are that perfection calling forth perfection. You magnetize it to yourself just because who you are, your core essence, you're God. So that goodness is always coming to you. It's just that some people, and there's no judgment ever. It's just, this is where we are in our evolution. But now it's time to wake up from that. That's why we're talking about this. They have a cinder block or a concrete block they're holding in the middle of the river, and they're standing there, and all the blessings are going around them, or they're hanging out in the outside until they have an inlet to come into you, until you know you're worthy, because you're God. You're worthy of all good things. And, you know, they said, Kim, walk around the house and proclaim your God. Say, I'm God up in here. Get ridiculous with it. Say, I'm worthy, I'm worthy, I'm worthy, just because I am the I am that I am. And in that infinite divine worthiness, I'm ready right now to receive all the infinite blessings and gifts that my I am presence has to bestow upon me, and more. And so be it, and so it is. Thank you for that gift now, my I am presence. Do you know it's a universal law? You cannot help but receive that which you know you're one with. So when you know you're God, and you make those proclamations, you must receive it. So you need to start saying, I am worthy. Don't look at the outside world and look inside. Put your attention on your I am, the perfection you are, and call forth that perfection, that perfect health. Whatever you choose to experience, it's sky's the limit, you know? For example, I'll give you a profound example. Last night, I was scrolling through Instagram before I went to bed. And, I'm flying pretty soon. And my son is flying to the Boston Marathon this weekend, blah, blah, from Nashville. And I saw this man come into my awareness in an interview with a news crew. And everything happens purposely in all our lives, right? There's always a reason you see something or something happens. And it's just that, are we aware of that, right? So this interview, and I'm like, this is interesting. What is this? They want me to pay attention to. So the man was talking about the 737 Boeing airplanes, the Max series 8 and 9, the Alaskan Airlines, they're being grounded now, the series 9 or 8, I can't remember, because they have a malfunction, because Boeing was using supposedly, and I don't know this, but this was in the interview, faulty parts and going cheap instead of using the proper ones when they built the plane. So I guess there might have been, somebody might know more than this than me, but there might have been an accident or a plane crash or something. I saw a picture of a window blown out and whatever it is. And then I reacted, right? I know better, but this is a learning process for all of us. Even where I know I am today, you still have to be vigilant, right? In the now moment. So I reacted and I texted my son, are you flying on Southwest, American, United? I want you to fly in Delta. They don't have that in their stream of aircraft, and Ryanair. Are you flying on all these, because they have that in their fleet? And then I stopped, and my I am presence came right into my awareness and said, hey, you're the creator of your reality. You are the sacred fire, the love of God itself. What have we been teaching you these last 2 years? Use the sacred fire and bring it forth in, through, and around that whole situation with the planes, into every nook and cranny and crevice, and command, demand, intend that sacred fire do its divine perfect work, so no other people are harmed. I'm like, oh. And I was talking to a friend this morning. I shared with her. I said, son of a gun, for a brief moment, I thought I was somehow a victim. I'm not a victim. I'm the creator of my own reality. I'm powerful. And I quick reclaimed all my power and authority, and I stand in it. And I said my sacred fire decree and invocation. And, I was like, thank you for that reminder, my I am that I am. That's powerful, because, we need that. We need that reminder. That's why I surrender every day. So you can even surrender, reminding you to surrender. You can surrender with your intent. Dear mighty I am presence, I intend that you remind me to surrender each and every now moment for my highest good. So be it, and so it is. Guess who's going to remember to surrender every time? You can get really crafty with your intention setting, So, but anyway, the sacred fire, back to that, is everything that I'm writing about in these cards now, these oracle cards. And it is the master power of the universe, the ultimate. And no discord can leave this earth without it. And that's that powerful. Like I said, it's a violet flame. It's Archangel Michael's blue lightning, sword of blue lightning. It's the immortal power of the cosmic Christ love, which Jesus is the director of right now. And he said, if you call to me with a sincere, constructive call, I will not fail to, if you're serious, I will not fail to answer your call when you call forth the immortal power of the cosmic Christ love that nothing can oppose. Nothing can oppose. You can bring it in through and around yourself if you're walking through a mall or go to a concert. You can and command, and you don't need to know how it works. That's the beauty. You just say, I command, demand, intend that the sacred fire does its divine perfect work in, through, and around me, in the atmosphere about me, in which I ever abide, move, and go, in, through, and around, into every nook and cranny and crevice of my house, my loved ones. And it's so powerful. You can really get creative and send it everywhere. So I just want to bring this up real quick before we get too late here in the show. But they wanted to, when I was doing this the last 2 years, this research in the I Am discourses, they wanted to show me how profound of a difference that I was making in all those on the planet that use the sacred fire and call it forth. And that's why the cards, the oracle cards that are coming out, are going to be called Making the Call. Okay. So when you do this, you're serving the light that serves you. So they said to me, as you call the sacred fire, we will surround you in it. Nothing, you'll be invincible, and you'll have all the blessings because you have accepted Saint Germain's teachings of the I Am discourses, and you have decided, like Jesus and like Saint Germain and like all the other masters, to give back to life as we give to life itself. And you're giving, the sun shines to you 24/7, 365. And the water gives to you, the earth gives to you, it gives us food and water. It's constantly giving. So we've been constantly taking. So now it's our duty to give back. And we can do that through surrender and making the call to the sacred fire. And so it's as easy as literally saying, this is what the example was. I was laying in bed. This was like last year, the end of last year. And I had a lucid dream, which is one where you're awake. I know you know what it is, but for your listeners, you're wide awake in your dream. And I saw flashing red lights coming in my blinds. And I stood up, and I'm in a townhome. And I looked out my window, and there was a fire truck backed into my driveway. There were fire trucks across the street, and 4 houses down, the house was burnt to the ground, the townhome. And I heard my I Am said, call the sacred fire forth, in, through, and around every house, into every nook and cranny and crevice of houses in this development. And there happens to be 144 houses in my development, which is a sacred number, and call it forth in, through, and around everybody and everything. So I did that. And I guess went back to sleep in my lucid dream. Then I woke up again in the lucid dream. And I thought, what the heck? I just called the sacred fire. I guess I'll do it again. I called it forth again. I think I added some things to it in the atmosphere around this development, in a 10-mile radius in the atmosphere. I didn't know if it was a tornado coming. You can do that for tornadoes too. It'll actually, you can call it into the side note. You can call it into the atmosphere, into being as the elements and powers of nature, to hold perfect balance when there's a tornado coming, and it will shelter you. It will hold balance of that atmosphere. It's so powerful. I did it once, and the rain stopped immediately outside my window. I had a heavy rainstorm, and it just stopped instantly. It's amazing. So anyway, so back to the dream. I went back to bed a second time, and the house was still burned to the ground, 4 houses down. Then I woke up in real life, and my real fire alarm went off. And then I went, I got to call the sacred fire for my house. Did I include my house? I was thinking, what did I include everybody else's house? Maybe it's my house that's on fire or going to be on fire. And then I was like, what is going on? The fire engines came, and I had to get them to unplug it because I didn't, I'm like, I don't want that thing going off again. And so they came. It was a whole thing. I called the sacred fire again. So 3 days later, I had a chance to talk to Raphael, a channeled session. I said, Archangel Raphael, and of course, Raphael knows everything. Said, yes. I said, what the heck? I kind of feel like it was about the sacred fire. Raphael said, yes. You got a call from your I Am presence to call forth the sacred fire in, through, and around all the homes and everybody. And you followed your direction, and a travesty was averted. And then the very next day, I saw a husband, a wife, a baby carriage, an infant, and a grandma walk out of that house and take a walk. Now, I don't know if it was an electrical, something in the walls, a candle was kept burning. That's not my business to know. I just needed to call forth the sacred fire, like I did for the airplanes. And any situation, I call it forth in, through, and around the situation between Palestine, Israel, and also between Ukraine and Russia, and all the energy connected to it. So God can go into any avenue. And I command. And then here's the beauty. You say, I intend. I command, demand, and intend. I am the victory. There's that word victory again, of calling forth the sacred fire, love's immortal victory into let's say my house, in, through, and around my house, into every nook and cranny and crevice of my house, and all the energy connected to it. And here's what you have to say. I intend that it does its divine perfect work where I have sent it forth now, continuously, and for all eternity, self-sustained. So be it, and so it is. Thank you, my I am presence. We don't need to know how. The call goes out, the I am hears it, and guess what happens then, they told me. Then the I am decides who they call. It may be Archangel Michael for that job. It may be Jesus for that job. It may be a healing necessary. It may be, it may be Archangel Raphael for that job. It may be Sanat Kamara. It may be Lord Melchizedek. Who knows? But you're not the one having to figure that out. You just, with your intention, command, demand, I'm the victory, call it forth into everything, in, through, and around yourself, and then intend that it does its divine perfect work and let it go. And then, of course, gratitude. And that's what we're being. And just the other night, Jesus said, open my book. And I opened it. He said, we need as many people to call. Don't focus on the outside world. Please don't focus on Discord. Once you know about the sacred fire, once this is brought into your awareness, relentlessly. And he wrote, and I wish I brought it downstairs, it's upstairs. He wrote, call, 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 the whole line across the sentence of the book. Call the sacred fire relentlessly. Intend it does its divine perfect work in this world, for wherever it is needed, for the victorious fulfillment of divine plan, and let us meet you halfway on the bridge and do our work. It's a joint effort. They need to meet us. We need to make the call because we have divine freedom of will. They can't do it without us. They need to bring perfection into this world. And that's how you do it, through the sacred fire. And that's the only way to do it. Only way to do it in your life. And as the beauty of it is, and we don't do it for this reason, we do it because we love, but the beauty of it is, as you do this and make these calls of the sacred fire, you are blessed beyond, it's personal, but I am so infinitely divinely blessed. It's beyond the ridiculous, which I'm full receptive mode of for doing this work. If you join Ascended Master Saint Germain's team and Jesus's team and all the Masters' team, that's what they're asking. That's beautiful. Yeah.
Absolutely. Beautiful messages. And I know we all have a mission placed in our heart to do, and you have yours, but I love when the information syncs up with a lot of other people I've talked to or researched, and it really just comes back to love at the end of the day. So I really appreciate you coming on and telling all of these stories, sharing, being vulnerable with us. And also, before we get out of here, do you want people to reach out to you on your Facebook, Instagram, your website? What's the best way for people hearing this interview to get a hold of you?
I'm mostly on Instagram I have to get it synced, but I'm right now at Kimberly Barber, just Kimberly Barber, lowercase, on Instagram. And I'm also, my website is kimbarter.com. So I'm going to make it all Kim, but for now it's Kimberly Barter, Instagram, and kimbarter.com is my website. And there's a place to reach out to me on my website.
Wonderful. Well, again, I thank you so much for coming on, showing your message.
Yeah.
Let us know when those Oracle decks get done.
I'm sure
that work is going to be beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Thank
you.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm grateful. Thanks for having me on. Grateful to be here.
Yes, wonderful. My friends, before we get out of here, I have a track from Neovi for you. I honestly thought it was perfect for this interview. It's called Light. So we're going to head out with that, and I'll see you on the next episode. I love you guys. Down.